Outer things. Dun, 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 dun. Good morning, folks, wherever you are out there. Welcome. You are listening to the Charge Life podcast. I am Joseph Barletta, and this is where we discuss EVs and all things EV charging. Glad you could pull over and park with us today. So let's get plugged in. Hey, today's episode's all about what's going on with Tesla's V4 supercharging and in general, just the supercharging network. You're going to love this one. Hey, before we begin, today's episode is brought to you by Smart Charge America. Since 2007, Smart Charge America has installed tens of thousands of EV charging stations nationwide, and they can do the same for you today. Whether it's in the home, commercial, or service, let their team of expert installation specialists guide you to the very best charging solution for your new EV. After all, if you can't charge, you can't drive. Visit smartchargeamerica.com today to get started. All right, so what's going on with the Tesla Supercharging Network? And of course, the most coveted V4 supercharging. So here's what we know so far. What we've discovered was we're still it's good to know that in 2023, Tesla installed over 50,000, total accumulation of over 50,000 supercharging stalls globally. Okay, so they did that in the span of 11 years. So from 2012, okay, the first supercharger was in Hawthorne, California. In 2023, where they hit their 50,000th supercharger, you can see it took them 11 years. Now, we have reports from Tesla that in the next 3 years, they plan on doing the same rollout. So what it took for them for 11 years, from 2012 to 2023, they're going to do the same, exceeding, pretty much exceeding the number by this time, 2026. So that's 2024, 25, 26. Okay, so what they took them 11 years, they're going to do in 3 years. That's their goal. That's the ambitious nature at which Tesla is trying to do. So what we know, that's going to be accomplishing about 100,000 stalls globally by the end of 2026. And, the interesting thing is, to us, that's before the other OEMs even wake up from, we're going to peel back our EV demand, so forth and so on. You guys have seen it in the news. I don't have to tell you much on what's going on there. So for what we know, Tesla in 2023 averaged around 20 supercharging sites going active per week. And so if you look at that on a global perspective, we always anticipate that half of that is in the US and the other half is in, the rest of the world, split between Europe and China. And so what we've seen is 20 stalls going live per week, okay, multiplied by 52, okay, that gives you about 10,400 actual sites per year. That's the rate, okay, at that rate. But we know that they're going to kick it up a notch. So we anticipate that they're going to do an average of 30 stalls per week in 2024, an average of 40 stalls per week in 2025, and an average of 50 stalls per week in 2026. And so with an accumulation of 2024, 15,000, 2025, 20,000, and 2026, 26,000, you can accumulate all that, total it all up, and it gives you about 62,000 stalls in the next 3 years. We do love that trend. So that's exactly kind of what we're seeing the supercharger network go. Now, we are in talks with Tesla on their destination chargers. And so we know that destination chargers are explicitly kind of peppered throughout the city, so forth and so on, to kind of complement and offset some of the constraint that certain supercharger sites may have with regards to their drivers, so forth and so on. And so look, if you can, guys, go ahead and click the thumbs up icon below if you can. If you missed it, just go ahead and click on that. Thanks. Okay, now we're waiting on actual, as far as the V4 charging systems for Tesla's superchargers, we're waiting on the actual cabinet installs for the new V4 superchargers. We see the dispensers, okay? However, in the interim, I guess we're getting some complaints from consumers that are visiting some of these V4 supercharger sites out in Europe. And, complaints are that the V4 stalls are actually worse for drivers than, the version 2. They have to deal, basically, the cables are heavier. They're complaining that the cables are heavier. They're complaining that the cables are less flexible. So because they're heavier, they're more they're a little bit more built to handle the amount of amps and voltage that's going through them. So they're heavier, they're thicker, they're less flexible. They talked about less grip inside the unit whenever they're putting the actual connector in the holster. I guess there's less grip on that end, and so they're constantly slipping out and hitting the ground, hitting the snow or whatnot. And they're complaining that they're taller and they're opaque, so you can't see through them. So one of the nice things about the Tesla and the V3 superchargers are that they don't really they lend to the aesthetics of the I guess the overall environment landscape, visuals wise. So when you see them, you can kind of see through them and whatever. These are big, they're giant, they're opaque. That has to do with just the fact that the old ones were running off of 400 volts, which are you can fit a lot less components in there. But when you kick it up to 800 volts, you have a lot heavier duty machinery in there that you need that space to be able to basically house the fan units and everything else that actually goes into those cabinets. And so, yeah, I mean, look, our value conclusion from this particular subject matter was the fact that as the EV industry grows, Tesla will have to as well. And indubitably, Tesla's supercharging infrastructure department will be faced with accelerated growth pressures as it's now holding the entire EV automotive industry like on its shoulders, with the rest of the industry's OEMs moving over to the NACS standards. So that being said, Tesla will absolutely need to roll out this type of effort that we're seeing, the next 50,000 unit effort, across the world in the next 3 years. They're going to need to roll that out and hopefully to meet the demand as all those OEMs, basically come online and are activated to tap into the Tesla Supercharging Network. So, what Rockafella was to Standard Oil Company, I guess we're now seeing, Elon Musk become that for the Tesla Supercharging Network. So this is truly, truly exciting time. So, look, guys, thank y'all so much to our listeners and subscribers for their time. I hope this episode has brought to you a little bit value to your day. I know we're all better for it. I love you. And yes, we cannot do this episode without you. So thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us today. And like I said, go ahead and click on the icon below, share, comment, subscribe to our channel if you think we earned it. And before we leave, we're going to see if we can take... Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks again for charging up with us today. Keep in mind, you can always find us at smartchargeamerica.com. And remember, folks, if you can't charge, you can't drive. We'll see you next time. Cheers.